I'm sitting with logs on my phone through your app where November 2025, they are still showing as brand new. Nobody's touched it. Traffic lights are closed. When you reopen them again because they haven't been dealt with, they will show as new for several months later. That is the reality. The reality is that my son was driven into by somebody who did not have a South African driver's license, and JMPD told him that unfortunately it was his fault because despite the fact that the man was doing a U-turn illegally, did not have a South African driver's license. He had a Mozambican license, so therefore he qualified to drive on the road. This is the reality that people are dealing with in Joburg. The bottom line is that service delivery, and my colleague mentioned earlier, has regressed from 64% to 38%. And the AG has specifically found that City Power and Joburg Water have unreliable system-generated performance information. So what I would like to ask you is how you can claim recovery when your service delivery performances have dropped so drastically by almost 30%, and if City Power and Joburg Water's performance information is completely unreliable, how can the city then credibly claim progress in terms of these entities? Because you actually don't know what figures you are reporting on.
Indeed, Chair, we do have issue service delivery failures, and Honourable Knott knows very well that as a former councillor, some of these related issues would have been discussed at the cluster level. What we now have is a new CSD app which is being rolled out, which the colleagues can talk to the COO, and that is specifically a central service delivery app which is in real time in order to be able to quantify and also being able to monitor specific service delivery failures. There are several service delivery issues that we are now focusing on for the past few weeks, specifically in the inner city related issues, as well as other CBDs like your Randburg, your Lenasia and other areas, and your Midrand. The issue with regard to no working or limited working street lights. We had a session with the JRA some time ago, whereby they had to renew the MOU with the provincial government, whereby they are working together specifically to combine the efforts specifically on the street lights. However, we do have our own internal teams relating to this. There are several issues relating to these street lights, amongst others, issues with regard to vandalism and theft, where some of these thieves are specifically after specific copper cable. In other cases, your solar batteries or the backup batteries that we use. Other service delivery issues, I will request the COO maybe quickly to touch on them, because service delivery is what he does, and as well as the jog that we are managing with other departments and our coordination with other departments and entities. COO.
No, thanks, City Manager. I think let me start where you basically left off. So the approach to service delivery is two-pronged. So the first one is the proactive approach to service delivery with the focus on the infrastructure asset management plan. Because if you look at majority of the calls that we are receiving through the central service delivery app is related to the 4 critical infrastructure areas. Either it's water, it's potholes, it's electricity infrastructure. So we are intervening on the proactive side in terms of the allocation of capex to deal with the long-term infrastructure disinvestment that had happened over the years. And that we believe if we close the infrastructure backlog, it will actually reduce the number of queries that we receive on a daily basis. Secondly, the second part is in relation to the reactive aspect part, which is what we actually call is the Service Delivery Joint Operations Committee, where we is chaired at an executive level. I chair that at an EMT, but obviously at the regional level is chaired by the head of CRAM, wherein all the heads of operations sit in that forum and we look at where are the backlogs and we track the amount of queries that have been raised and actually the resolutions that take place. So what we've picked up in terms of that...
If I may interrupt you, Chair, sorry, if I may. I understand how the system works, but CRUM doesn't report specifically for your entities. They don't have the data for the entities. It doesn't go through their system. My question is specifically, if City Power and Joburg Water's system-generated performance information is unreliable according to the AG, then how is your turnaround strategy reliable? Because you are not basing it on data that is reliable in terms of the AG's report. So that's what I'm trying to understand. I do understand how the intricacies work on that level. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. From City Power point of view, let me come in. And member, you notice that the report that I have, unless if maybe we are referring to a different report, the report that I'm sitting with for the last financial year indicates that the performance has been audited and is found as it is. So I'm not so sure if it was said it was unreliable somehow. Maybe I might have made a mistake or maybe misread that. I'll look into that. However, we do acknowledge that the system as it is, it does have some deficiencies here and there, especially when we deal with an issue of the outage management system, where the system, for example, when there is a large number of unplanned outages, where we lose a bigger feeder, some calls will automatically be grouped, and when they are grouped into one particular work order, which is a parent work order, it will then send a message that says the call is actually closed or grouped, but does not necessarily mean the work is closed. And that it's what we are currently dealing with, and we are acknowledging that it is happening. However, with street lights, we also noticed that there's some deficiencies where individuals will just be sent out, and then when they realize that there is a fault on the line, but customers will report 7 or 10 streetlights along the same route, but they're affected by one cable, but they've locked multiple of them. And as it closed, that work order, when it's grouped, it then sends a message that it is resolved, which is not resolved. And it is the weaknesses that we've realized that it's happening, and we are working on fixing on that one. Thanks, Member.
Thanks. Chair, I don't suspect, and I'm not to beleaguer the point and waste time, the problem is relating to the performance the performance information that's coming from these entities, specifically City Power and Joburg Water. And what that tells you is that essentially you cannot claim any progress or any traction or any turnaround strategy or anything in that respect, because the information you're getting from them is completely inaccurate. What I am understanding, I do completely understand what they're telling me, but I don't think that answers the question, but I'll leave it with you. Because it is a very, very pertinent question. A turnaround strategy cannot be confirmed, and it can never be shown as being successful if the information you're getting from those entities is completely uncredible. But I'll leave it there with you.